Howdy, folks. This is Brian, and here's some advice. I want to take a moment and thank everyone for all the comments, likes, and subscribes. You folks are awesome. I enjoyed reading your responses and your suggestions. You're all too kind, and I really appreciate you taking the time to voice your support. It means a lot to me. It's my goal to release a video once a week or so, but I don't always have time to put one together. So, thanks for your patience and understanding here. Alright, let's get into it. Our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Keeping a Lost Pet Until the Owner Paid the Advertised Reward? And this is from Am I the Jerk Lost Pet? This weekend I was walking through the park and I saw a cat that looked like one I had seen on the posters that were posted around the neighborhood. They said that there was a reward of $500 for finding their cat. So I caught the cat, which was pretty easy since he was friendly, and I checked the poster to see if it was the cat. It was. I went home and put him in the back porch and called the number on the poster I saw to let him know I had found their cat. They were happy that I found him and said they would come and pick him up right away. I confirmed that there was a $500 reward, texted the guy a picture of the cat, and gave him my address. This is where the problem started. When he got to my house, I asked for the reward money before returning the cat. He said that there wasn't actually a reward, and that he only advertised one to increase the chance that people would look for his cat. I told him that I wasn't going to give the cat back until he paid the promised reward, and that he shouldn't have posted one if he didn't want to pay one. He then got angry and threatened to call the cops if I wouldn't give him back the cat. I said that he was welcome to, and that I would be happy to get things on the record in case I had to take him to small claims court. He begrudgingly told me that he would be back later with the money. Later on that night, he came by with a full $500. I gave him his cat, and that was the end of it. When I told my girlfriend about it, she thought I should have just given the cat back to him since it cost me nothing to catch and everyone was having hard times right now. Some of my friends also think the guy was probably desperate to get his cat back and that it was kind of bad of me to profit from a lost animal. I still think that if you post a reward, you should pay it, and that the guy probably just wanted to save $500 and get the benefit of advertising a reward without paying it. So am I a jerk? Well, OP, you're a grade A jerk. Yes, the guy who reneged on his reward is a jerk as well. However, you not only matched his jerkiness, but somehow exceeded it. Holding his pet hostage was completely unethical. Neither of you are in the right. I'm having a hard time relating to this situation personally. If it had been me who found the cat, then I wouldn't have even wanted a reward. I just would have wanted the cat to be returned safely to its family. With that said, I can understand why you would have wanted to be rewarded. Though I think you would have had more of a claim to the reward if it had taken you hours to coax the cat out of hiding, or if you had to spend some money on treats to get the cat to come out. However, it only took you a couple of minutes of effort to capture the cat and return it. The other guy is unethical. He should never have offered a reward he was unwilling to pay. In some way, this was a harsh lesson for him to learn. If he could not afford the $500, then he should have had a better reason than, oh, I was just using it to get people's attention. Say, for instance, if he had every intention of paying, but an unexpected expense popped up and now he was out the reward money. In the end, you got what you wanted, $500. But just know that most people will probably look down on you for how you acquired it. Take care. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Boyfriend His Child Is Not My Responsibility? And this is from Bees Knees 3333. Boyfriend and I lived together for 1 year. When I first moved in, after coercion from him, his 8-year-old child came in every other weekend. I had 0 children, 1 dog. 2 months in, son's mom says he needs to stay with us so she can find a new place in the area. We enroll him in school. She finds a place an hour away. Son is now with us full time, so he won't have to change schools again. Boyfriend makes it a point to tell me that I will only ever be fourth in his life. Son first, money second, family third, and me last. The relationship ebbs and flows and all around is toxic. I'm fond of manners and a steady tone of voice. He is not. 8 months into living together, I'm pregnant. Unplanned. He turned into a raging jerk. The toxicity that it once had been became unbearable. I recorded his antics, one-party state. I felt the need, historical situations, to protect myself if any narcissistic tendencies tried to bend their story. I leave, sleep on my parents' couch after sleeping in my car for 2 weeks. I miscarry. My parents, mother and stepdad, moved my stuff out after he texts my mom to do so. After back and forth, he finally convinces me that he's changed. Suddenly he realizes everything he's put me through, and it's enlightened him. I move back in, some clothes and necessities only, into our house. Things are great for the first month, but soon he came back out. I have still been reeling from the miscarriage, a lack of trust in him, and overall anger for all he's put me through. I am not blameless. I have not been all in. We don't discuss my miscarriage. He's called me a baby killer 4 times. I cook 2 to 3 fresh meals a day. 1 for his picky son. I buy the groceries, separate finances, and pay bills. I set the table, make everyone's plate, wash the dishes, clean the house, albeit none of my furniture is in, so it's very bachelor pad and easy to do. To the point. I hadn't set out napkins before we sat down to eat supper. Boyfriend gets up, gets 2 napkins, 1 for him, 1 for his son. I commented, "That's okay, I can get my own napkin," sarcastically. He flew into a rage in front of his son. I responded, "I do a lot for you all. You could be thoughtful enough to get me a napkin." He further loses it, scrapes his son's plate into the trash, and says to his son, "It's not your responsibility to make yourself food. It's ours. It's not your responsibility to do anything. It's ours." I didn't say anything about his son. My issue was with boyfriend and boyfriend only, but his son has 0 chores. I take another bite of food. He's stomping back and forth to find hot dogs. I say, "It's yours." He makes his son leave the table, says, "I'll make you something you want to eat instead of this stuff." The stuff I made was my boyfriend's favorite meal. I tell him, he's your responsibility. I do it because I want to, not because I have to, but it's your responsibility to take care of your child. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to make sure his son is taken care of. I will and have, but we're not married. He's not my child. He has told me that he wouldn't date me if I had a child. I left shortly after. Hi OP, maybe you could have phrased your response to your boyfriend a little differently. However, you being a jerk for that is not the real issue at hand here. It doesn't even sound like his son was in earshot when you made the remark, and it also doesn't seem like you begrudgingly take care of him. The real issue at hand is your boyfriend. Your boyfriend is abusive, and you are in an abusive relationship. You need to get out of this relationship ASAP. You suspected as much when you left the first time. Your boyfriend is a huge jerk, not only for constantly calling you a baby killer, but also being unappreciative of what you do around the house. Yes, you are hesitant to dedicate yourself to this relationship, and I can understand why. You were burned once, and you're getting burned again. You being all in on this relationship would not change how he's treating you. His epiphany was nothing more than lip service to get you to move back in with him. If he were trying to change, then it wouldn't have taken him a month to return to his old self. Worst of all, you are not getting the support you need from a relationship. Next, you cooked your boyfriend his favorite meal, and it turned into a disaster because he cut off his nose despite his face. His reaction would have been more suited if he had found out you were cheating, stealing from him, or if he had found out you put an allergen into his food, not over a sarcastic remark. Consider how he would have acted if this was a more pressing issue. This situation is bad all around, OP. This sounds like a classic abuse situation, and you should get out now while you still can. Your partner is not a good person, and it may only be a matter of time before you become his personal punching bag. If you need help getting out of this situation, then I would consider visiting your domestic abuse hotline. The one for the United States is the hotline.org, and a phone number in the United States is 1-800-799-7233. If you aren't in the United States, then you'll have to look up the domestic abuse hotline for your country, but there are a lot of resources out there to help people who are in abusive relationships. Take care, and good luck. Our next letter is titled, "Am I a Jerk for Effectively Ruining My Sister's Life Because of What She Did?" And this is from Am I the Jerk? 67679. So I'm a 20-year-old female, and I have a 20-year-old boyfriend, and we'll call him John. John and I started dating when we were 17. I have a big family. I have my mom, 53, my dad, 55, my older twin sisters that are 34, and my younger sister that is 19. My sisters both have husbands and kids, and my younger sister lives at home and works for the family business. I live in a condo with my boyfriend. He's always been close with my family. Around 2 weeks ago, I was ordering Postmates on my boyfriend's phone, and he got a message from my younger sister. I was feeling nosy, and I opened up their message thread. For 2 months, they've been hooking up and sending nudes. In that moment, I flipped out and took screenshots. I sent them to myself and deleted the evidence. I acted like nothing happened, and luckily the next day John was going to visit his mom in another state. The next day after he left, I sent the messages to my mother, my dad, and both of my other sisters. My whole family was disgusted. That day, I left the condo because it's in his name, so I didn't have any commitment to it legally. Then my sister's husband helped me move into my parents' house. It all happened in a day, and when my sister got to my parents' house, all of her stuff was outside the house. She tried coming in, and my dad went outside and started screaming at her. My other sisters both went outside, and they yelled at her, and told her that she was a disappointment to the family. My dad fired her on the spot. My older sister's husband is a lawyer, so he gave my dad some legal advice on how to cover himself. He told her to get lost. She was crying, and I came outside. I threw the condo keys at her and told her to go move in with my boyfriend since they're so close. I told her I knew everything. Before she could say anything, I went inside. There was some more yelling for about 20 minutes, and my dad came in. He said my older sisters had to leave, and we watched movies. I sent the screenshots to my boyfriend and blocked him. Over the past 2 weeks, my sister has been trying to contact everyone. She had to be escorted off my parents' property 2 times already. I heard from my friend my boyfriend got home 2 days ago and my sister had been living at his house. He kicked her out and has been trying to contact me. She is essentially homeless and jobless, and I don't know or care what's happening to her right now. I haven't had time to go to work since the issues that are happening in the world. My family is completely behind me, but my friends are saying that I should not have done all that to my younger sister. The way I see it, she deserved it. So am I a jerk? Hi, OP. I'm so sorry your sister hurt you like this. I can only imagine how upset you must be. Your sister is 100% a jerk here. However, I think this went too far. I'm not sure that the punishment of her losing her job and her home match her indiscretions. Given that this is happening during a pandemic, it would be difficult for her to find a new job and a place to live. Further, it seems like she's being punished more severely than your ex, who seems to have faced little to no consequences for his actions. It was fine moving out of the condo and leaving John high and dry. He certainly earned it. However, paying a little extra on your rent or mortgage is a far cry from being homeless and jobless. He didn't even have the courtesy to let your sister get back onto her feet from a situation that is half his fault. I get your father wanted to kick her out of the house. She, after all, had, at the time, a place to go, and you two should not be under the same roof at the moment. However, I don't see how her actions would affect her job performance. The fact that your older sister's husband had to give your father legal advice on how to cover himself shows how unethical this was to fire her for this reason. This feels like an overreaction on your parents' part. Though, with emotions running high, I can understand why he did this. What she did was really hurtful, but burning everything down won't fix anything. Over the last 2 weeks, your sister has been trying to contact the family. She was escorted off the property twice, and at this point in time, she still had a place to live. This means that she may be truly remorseful for what she did and is attempting to apologize. It would be gracious for your parents to allow her to try and make amends. After all, she too has now discovered how much of a scumbag your ex is. This is honestly an awful situation, and there are no clear winners. If I really had to rank everyone on how jerky they were in this situation, then the order from least to most jerky would be you, your family, your dad, your sister, and then finally, your ex. Your ex is a huge scumbag, and I'm glad that you found out sooner than later. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Wanting to Give Up My Spot at the Kitchen Table Because My Husband Decides Now He Wants to Sit There? And this is from Training Duty. So this morning, my husband tells me he wants to sit at my seat at the kitchen table because the light is better at my spot and we can switch. I've been sitting in this spot for a decade, and I've been working from home using that spot for 2.5 years. He, by chance, apparently sat in my seat yesterday, and now he wants to sit in it when he works from home. He works from home full-time now since January. When I told him no, he said, how about we alternate? 1 week on, 1 week off. I said I didn't want to alternate. That would be like changing up the side of the bed you sleep on. He said I was rude, inflexible, and didn't know how to share. I told him that he's rude because all of a sudden he decides that something is better, and he wants it for himself. And when I disagree, then I'm the jerk. He also claims that people don't have a spot at the kitchen table. Who's right? Hi, OP, you are not a jerk at all. You have been using that spot for the last 10 years and working from home for the previous 2.5 years. It is tough to justify disrupting your workspace to accommodate your new office mate. Your husband claims that the lighting is better at your spot at the table, and this may very well be true. However, in his rush to displace you from your spot, it would seem that he has forgotten about the advent of electric light. Furthermore, it sounds like he was content with his current location until he found out that the grass was greener at your workstation. I don't know the details of his working situation, but it would seem like he should be able to improve upon it. We are creatures of habit. We are not comfortable with change, especially when that change is a favorite spot. If you want to see this in action, then look to the nearest classroom or think back to a time when someone took your desk in school. You weren't happy about it then, and I can't blame you for being unhappy about it now. Despite your husband's insistence, I doubt he would have been thrilled to be displaced from his spot if the tables were turned. What I would suggest is that you two sit down and discuss how you can make his workspace more comfortable and improve his lighting and comfort situation. Your husband's being a little bit of a jerk here because of how insistent he is on displacing you from your spot, and I say that you're not a jerk at all. Anyhow, good luck. Our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Roommate That Just Because She Cooked for Me Using My Ingredients, It Doesn't Mean That She Gets to Eat My Food? And this is from Remote Nectarine. I am a chef who was recently laid off due to the world's current situation. I live with one roommate, Claire. In regards to my job, it's both a blessing and a curse that I was laid off because I don't particularly like my job. Cooking has always been easy and something that I'm good at. And after cooking at work all day, I grew to hate cooking for myself at home. I obviously do it, though, and rarely eat stuff that isn't freshly prepared. Anyhow, Claire knows about my job situation and also knows that I don't like to cook. Now that she has more time on her hands, she told me that she's been really into cooking lately. She asked if she could start cooking my meals for me using my ingredients and groceries so that she could get more practice, and I said sure, why not? I think it's also important to mention that I'm a vegan, and Claire is not. She told me that she wants to practice making more vegan meals since her boyfriend is a vegan. She also mentioned that if she made a meal that I didn't like, she'd compensate me for my groceries. So Claire has been making 2 separate meals, one using her own groceries and the other using my stuff. Yesterday, she made a vegan lasagna for me and a meatloaf for herself. But instead of eating the meatloaf, she ate some of my vegan lasagna, both for lunch and dinner. I told Claire that while I appreciate that she's making my meals and I'm happy to let her practice using my stuff, I'd also appreciate if she didn't eat my vegan things because I can't eat the stuff that she makes for herself. She looked really mad when I told her that and thinks I'm being ungrateful for the time that she's been putting into cooking for me. I reminded her that she doesn't have to do it and that she asked me if she could practice cooking. I also reminded her that nowhere in our agreement did I say that she could eat my food. Am I a jerk for telling her that just because she cooks my food for me, she can't eat my food? Alright, OP, this is a tough one. You had an agreement with your roommate, and she approached you and asked you if she could use your food to practice cooking. She also stipulated that she would compensate you for all meals that you did not eat. Further, you didn't refuse to let her eat your food. You allowed her to eat your lasagna for 2 meals, after which you approached her and explained that you didn't think it was fair that she was eating your food because you couldn't eat her food. Couple this with the fact that you are unemployed and likely on a tight budget, it seems reasonable that you want to make your food stretch. Additionally, she isn't providing you with a service that you are incapable of performing. You choose not to cook, but it isn't that you are incapable, though you are benefiting from enjoying the meal that she cooks for you. I can certainly understand her wanting to have a taste of the meal, just because it's nice to see how the end product comes out. It's also customary to allow the chef to enjoy a portion of the meal. However, this is where the crux of your agreement comes into play. She is stepping outside of the bounds of that agreement. I think that you two should come up with a new deal if she is unsatisfied with the current one. She is not contractually obligated or bound to cook you meals for the rest of her life. She is a free agent. So if she is dissatisfied with the current agreement, then she should negotiate a new one. Maybe she could offer to purchase half of the groceries and thus be entitled to half the food, and you can do the dishes or some other equitable agreement. Either way, I think you two need to sit down and communicate because it seems like the current setup is not working. In the end, I don't think either of you are jerks. You two had different expectations for this agreement, and I believe that this was a miscommunication. Take care and good luck with working things out with your roommate. I hope you two can come up with a mutually beneficial arrangement. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you didn't, consider giving me a thumbs down. Take care and bye.